All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome in. I am George, and this is Danny over here on that side.
Good morning. Thank you for joining RCN's webinar on elections and how we can use our NOC solution to support those elections. We look forward to working with you. Let us why don't we go ahead and do introductions, George? First of all, I'll start it off. My name is Danny Sartain. I am the regional account manager for the public sector for the Western United States. So basically, cut the U.S. in half. I handle everything to the Pacific Ocean, and then my history is that I was formerly with one of the larger wireless providers. Spent almost 20 years in that business, and spent a lot of that time working with government agencies like yourselves. And so I look forward to working with you in the future. So, George.
Hi, I am George. I'm the business development rep for the same area that Danny covers. So my job is to make sure that everyone in those counties that we can get in touch with y'all and get those meetings set, get everything put together so that we can make sure that you guys have everything that you need. So every time there's a new product and I think that it's something that you guys might like, then I always try to reach out to as many of you as I can so that we can get those meetings set and you can always be on top of everything.
Good. So we're going to go ahead and kind of get started. And I think the first thing we're going to look at is our agenda. Today's agenda is really on how RCN and our NOC solution can help support your election sites and your election day needs. Number one on the agenda is going to be talking about what those common election site support challenges are that you're currently experiencing. We've done a little investigating, and I think that there's some common needs among everyone, and we're gonna discuss those. Then we're going to jump into our NOC solution, our Network Operations Center, and how we can support you on election day and really make it a simpler, easier task as you run into issues or having any needs, how we're going to help you get those corrected. We're going to follow that up with the Cradlepoint NetCloud integration. Cradlepoint is a integral part to what we do. It allows us to really support your teams. And so we want to make sure that you understand how that piece fits in. And then fourth, we're going to talk about on-site support. It's kind of unique. So something unique that RCN does is offering that on-site support so that you can be relaxed as you work through your election day needs. And then we'll follow that up with Q&A and answer those questions that you have, and then we'll wrap up and hopefully all within the time allotted. So make sure that we try to be conscientious of the time that you have. So we're going to go ahead and move along. And first, a little bit about RCN. We're an elite partner. We've been an elite level partner with Cradlepoint since 2017. In 2022, we were elected Public Sector Partner of the Year, which is quite an accomplishment for us. We are extremely proud of that fact. And so we just want to let y'all know that we are very familiar and educated in all things Cradlepoint.
Yeah, and it was definitely an honor to be picked as that Public Sector Partner of the Year. I think it really shows all of the expertise and all of the work that we've put into our public sector offerings, and elections are a huge part of that. And I think that the NOC is going to be one of the biggest things when it comes to elections. when it comes to our offerings, because it helps us implement them just so much better than we ever could
That
before.
is absolutely true. Thanks, George. So we're going to jump into the next portion of our discussion, and that is let's talk about how do you currently support your election sites connectivity. So we've got a couple of options over there. Are you currently providing the hardware for your locations? Do you provide just the data service? Do you oversee all the election sites in your area? Or is it some combination of all those? So there is a poll on the right. Feel free to answer and to what best fits your situation, and just like to see what all is happening in your world. We'll give that a second for everybody to finish that up.
Yeah.
All right. So it looks like the majority of people are provide their own hardware and kind of manage things themselves. So that is good to know. So we'll move along. Yep. So talking about common election site support challenges, there's a lot of moving parts whenever it comes to election nights. And, you have your volunteers, you have your IT professionals. All these have to work together hand in hand to make sure that your election runs smoothly. So we're going to start off by talking about probably a big piece of that election day need, and that's the volunteers. So volunteers are usually not IT staff. They're usually a lot of them don't have a lot of IT expertise. But they're really good at what they do, and that's getting people into the election site and through the process of casting that ballot. So I happened to be talking with a volunteer just a couple of days ago. He did volunteer work for many years in West Texas, and there was a lot of things that he said went really well in those election days, and there were some things that were kind of a struggle. And when it came to issues with devices and things of that nature, it could take 30 to 45 minutes to get an IT person on site to get those issues looked at and if possible resolved. So most situations are the same. I think for most areas within the election areas, is that your on-site people do not have that knowledge, and then the people who do have that knowledge can't be in every place at once. So it can be a struggle, and having some kind of support, not having that support can lead to security risk, can lead to solutions not being used correctly. It can lead to some significant issues on election days at each and every site. So that's one of the things that we want to kind of point out, and I think it's a common issue with all election areas. And so hopefully our solution can help mitigate some of those problems. So
Yeah. And things aren't as easy as they used to be. It used to be that you had one or two polling places, and there wasn't really any need there wasn't electronic poll books. There wasn't, a network connecting to those electronic poll books. There wasn't. So, you have so many moving parts these days, and you oftentimes will have the same people volunteering now that have been volunteering for the past 20, 30 years, even
true.
sometimes. And so you end up with people who knew how it was ran before, who are having to learn whole new systems. So it's definitely helpful to have a team like our NOC on call for those people to be able to call on without having to pull someone from the IT staff over over here and then over here and then over here, having to run all over the county generally to figure out what's going on with the elections. So it's definitely something that's beneficial
A
in
great
that way.
comment, George, and that's a good lead into our next piece, and that's talking about the lean IT staffs. You know, majority of the counties, there are some larger counties that have very robust IT staffs, but the majority of counties are not considered large, are medium, and maybe smaller in nature, and may have one or two. Uh, I've heard of 100,000 plus population counties that have less than five. So if you have less than a handful of people that are um, experts in the IT field, and uh, they may or may not be familiar with RF or radio frequency, but they have some knowledge of how to troubleshoot in a certain situation. It may or may not be with the technology that you're currently using. So it can be tough for them to respond in a timely manner if there's an issue, especially when you're talking about 20, 30 or more sites in a county where that you have people casting ballots. So, lean IT staff is probably one of the biggest concerns for election administrators and people of that nature, or people in that business who have to get through that election night and hope that it runs smoothly. So, not having when you have the lean IT staff like that, you don't have somebody at every site that is IT savvy. And that can put a strain on the volunteers, and puts them through some tasks that they're not necessarily comfortable with. They may or may not know how to troubleshoot, so having to wait for those IT individuals to respond can put good stress on them. So, and it can cause long waiting lines at the polling places. So, that's something that what we'll talk about with our NOC solution that we can hopefully help to alleviate from those IT staffs and make their lives a little easier as they get through the election days as well.
Yeah. And a lot of the issues with this, it's not just that it's pulling this person from here to here to here. It's also that we could fix one of your major problems, which is networking, so that would help that IT staff that you do have to be able to focus on any other IT related problems that may pop up during the election. Because it's not just, as I said, it's many moving parts. It's not just the one piece with networking. So if we can take care of that for them, that leaves them open to be able to take care of everything else that surrounds that as well.
That is absolutely true. With most of the smaller counties or medium counties, and even some large counties are using what is known as a jetpack for their election needs. And when you're talking about being in locations like schools or churches or libraries, you're not always on the outer edge of those buildings. And a lot of times the voting sites are in a room that may or may not have windows. And when you're talking about a single in, single out antenna that's 1 dB gain, it's not really built to provide strong connectivity in those type of situations. So it could cause issues. And knowing how to overcome those issues or how to correct those issues is something that your volunteer staff is probably not going to know, and that your IT staff may or may not be able to correct. So it's a challenge. We understand that there's challenges for all of these individuals when just from a building perspective, whenever or location perspective that they're having to deal with. So when you're talking about elections, there's been a lot of things in the news over the last year or so about concerns about the security of our elections and the security of the polling locations from a technology standpoint. The digital and physical security are both concerns. So, that if something goes wrong, if a location is hacked or a device is hacked, and it causes disruptions in an election process, it can cause damaged reputation to an organization. We like to believe that they can't really get into those devices and change votes. That we want to believe that strongly, and we hope that that's the case. But the thing is that they could probably get into some of the hardware that actually provides the connectivity and cause disruption. So that is kind of a known fact. So we hope one of the things that our solution hopes to mitigate is being able to secure that connection and provide a connectivity that you can rely on. So, because anytime you have a security issue, it can turn into a loss in voters, and because they don't believe that their vote's being counted, or which is the public backlash is kind of brutal at times. So that's something we all want to avoid. We want to make sure that those election days go smoothly, and that we don't run into those kinds of issues.
Yeah, a lot of issues have popped up, especially over the past two elections when it comes to public outcry. We've had people everywhere who are crying for more and more security, and if it with these problems that you run into, the worst is always assumed. People would never assume, if your network goes down, people aren't going to assume, oh, the network just went down because there was too many people using it. They're going to think, oh, the network went down because it was an attack on democracy. People will always have some type of, that people have gotten very, very paranoid, especially about elections. So, it's definitely better to have as much security as you can get. That way you can say that you did the best that you could to make sure that your elections were safe and secure, and that your networking was as well. So having a NOC service like ours will help you keep your network up, and it'll also allow us to tell if something fishy is happening sometimes as well, which will allow us to alert you and tell you, hey, you might want to check this site out. Something fishy is going on here, which will help you be able to take problems, just take them immediately and get rid of any sort of uncertainty that may come along with those problems. So I think that that's definitely one of the biggest parts of that is we got to keep it secure to keep public trust up, and that's definitely something that I think our NOC can help do.
Good point, George. So let's get into the solution a little bit more. Well, let's do a poll. Do you currently have remote support, or do you have on-site at every location support for those needs? And I mean, I think it's pretty unanimous that that you just can't provide on-site support for every location when you're talking about a lean IT staff. It's it's going to be remote. It's going to be on an as needed basis type support. So uh, that's pretty much a given at this point. So let's get into the Network Operations Center. This is the NOC, or the Network Operations Center. This is what we do, and we feel like we do very well. We have a large team of individuals that support the NOC and provide that 24/7 service. So, not just for elections, but for a number of other areas that may reside within your county. But elections is our primary focus, especially right now, because we can do some things to provide that on-site support or that remote support as well that most others do not offer. So, it's kind of something that we do that's very unique, uniquely us. So, NOC support, like we were saying, basically we're an extension of your IT, your IT team. So we have our large team that's more cost effective than hiring a number of other individuals to support your team that can provide that on-site. So that remote service, that if there's an issue, they proactively respond and correct those issues. They understand the devices very well that we work with, and can help correct any issues that you may have on election day, even if it's all the way down to reconfiguring a device to make sure that it's working correctly.
Yeah. And one big piece of this that I really, really want to touch on, because I actually have a story that Ben White told me. Ben White is our regional sales manager for the West team over here at RCN, about that proactive monitoring piece. We actually had a school that had just had something installed. It was supposed to be a low data application. And because of our NOC, we were actually able to tell them, hey, something looks fishy here. Thankfully, it wasn't something that was actually a security risk. It was a PE teacher had plugged into it because he saw a LAN port. He had plugged into it and started streaming some videos, started streaming like some sports and stuff while he was on break. And it started taking up a little bit too much data there. But because we had that proactive monitoring, we were actually able to prevent any overages that may have occurred as well. And that just goes to show you how valuable that can be financially, as well as, with these data plans. If you have a monitored data plan, when we're monitoring that, we can make sure for you that you don't go over that. We can set some alerts up. We can actually we can call you if something seems like it's sort of a little bit fishy with the amount of data that's being used, things like that. And it's a pretty valuable resource, and we stay on top of that. So I'd say that that's probably one of the most valuable pieces, especially for elections.
Absolutely. And just to point out, we are working with some very large counties in the U.S. The city of Philadelphia, the county of Philadelphia, and Jefferson County in Colorado are using our services right now. And everything went really well with this just recent election in the last week or so. And so that's kind of a feather in our cap, is to show that, even the larger counties believe in the support that the NOC solution brings. So we're happy and very proud to be working with those groups. So a big part of our NOC solution is the Cradlepoint NetCloud integration. NetCloud Manager really allows us to be able to do what we do. We also set it up for your organizations or your county so that you can see the health of those devices. But we are the ones that actually manage it from the NOC and make sure that everything runs smoothly. So it's really flexible. Cradlepoint NetCloud integration is very flexible. You can do 1, 3, 5 year licenses with Cradlepoint. It's compatible with every Cradlepoint device that we deploy for elections, and there's a very easy renewal process. So the integration piece from Cradlepoint really is the backbone of what we do.
Yeah, and we love working with our people over at Cradlepoint. We have a pretty solid relationship with them, and it's because of that we were able to get our NOC up and running, and we're able to be so well integrated with everything that we deploy. So Cradlepoint NetCloud, I mean, it's an amazing piece of software. The only caveat to that is you have to know how to use it. And that's one of the really big benefits of our NOC is because we're so integrated with that, we know how to use it for you. Instead of having to spend, a much larger chunk of money on getting a bunch of people trained on it, we can kind of just manage that piece for you through our NOC. Now, I mean, there are some things that we can't do that you will still have to get someone to be able to do, but a majority of the common use cases, we can get everything set up for you. We can get everything configured, and we can have our NOC support that. So it's an awesome system that we have with Cradlepoint. Through that NetCloud integration, we can really do a lot of really cool things. So
good point. I know we're running close on time, so want to kind of jump through these next couple of slides. One of the new things that we're offering is on-site support, and this is being able to have someone at your locations to take care of any issues that come up. We don't usually see many issues with our NOC services or with our device if you're using our devices, the pop-up network kits. So there's not a lot for them to do, hopefully. But if there is an emergency, then they're there to help resolve it. So I just kind of want to make everyone aware of those.
Yeah, it's definitely a good feature to have, especially like we said before with the lean IT staff. You never know who will be available, because if you've got, let's say, 5 people and 100 sites, because some people do have very few people who would take care of it, but have that many sites, or even let's say you have 3 people and 27 sites. You can't have, them at 9 sites a piece. It's kind of a little bit difficult because we haven't mastered teleportation quite yet. So, thankfully, we can provide some of our on-site services. We can get stuff. We can schedule installs. We can get you truck rolls, things like that. And I mean, that's not necessarily part of the NOC piece, but it is something that we can offer to help support you during the election season.
Absolutely true. So we'll jump into some Q&A real quick. If there's any questions, we do have some flyers available if in the handout. See that some have taken advantage of those. Couple of questions that we've had pop up. is, does the NOC alert me of potential network issues, or does RCN take care of everything immediately? The NOC does alert you to potential network issues, but RCN is actually on top of it immediately as well. So it's kind of yes to both of those.
Yeah, it depends on the situation, but a lot of the stuff. So we can get those alerts set up for you, and depending on what type of issue it is, we would either inform you of the issue, and we would inform you immediately, or we would be able to take care of it ourselves, depending on the type of issue that it is and the level of support that you have through us.
Okay. One other question we had is, what is the difference between NOC and Cradlepoint NetCloud? And Cradlepoint NetCloud is really the service that, like George was saying, allows us to do what we do. It is the backbone of our NOC service. It allows us to have access to those devices and be able to troubleshoot anything that comes up on that election day. So, it is an integral part of what our NOC services is able to accomplish.
Yeah, and it's a great service, and I highly recommend using Cradlepoints, particularly because of NetCloud. And between the feature sets, even in NetCloud Essentials, but also the ones in NetCloud Advanced, which will give you so much more granular control over everything that happens with your devices, it's definitely one of the best networking pieces that you can get when it comes to software, or firmware, I guess technically, with the NetCloud. So it's
Right.
it's fantastic. I love Cradlepoint and their NetCloud, and our NOC will help you support that.
All right. Well, again, we appreciate everybody for joining us today. It's really great to visit with you and tell you a little bit about our NOC services. Feel free to reach out to our to the individuals within our organization. We'd love to have a conversation about how we can support your needs, and look forward to working with you in the future.
Yep, it was great to see you all here. Definitely appreciate you attending, and we do want to know how we did today. If you're willing to answer that poll for us, but we definitely appreciate you guys coming on in, whether you were an elections administrator, or you were a vendor partner, or Cradlepoint, or anywhere that you may have come from. We definitely appreciate you coming by to see what it is that RCN can do to provide some value for the elections use case through our NOC.
All right. Well, thanks, George. I enjoyed it, and look forward to doing future webinars with you. So thanks, everyone, and y'all have a great rest of your day.